Well, hello, creatives, community, and kind folks. Welcome to RPG with DBJ. I am your host, DBJ. And yes, there was a movie called The One. I see you one eyed heathen. Yeah, you're not the only one, but the movie The One is pretty sweet. Uh, oh man, Jet Li in his prime. Miss that dude. Anyway, so today, we're going to go back to although we never really left our day of series. And I thought it would be appropriate today, this Cyber Monday, the Monday after Thanksgiving here in the States, to go back into our more general day of series. Now, for those who don't know, this is a tabletop role playing game channel where we love to world build. And the day of series is where we take a prompt, usually a general prompt, one or two words, maybe a phrase, and then we world build off of that. And today we're going to do Black Friday and subsequently Cyber Monday. And I thought it would be appropriate because today technically is Cyber Monday. And how, strangely enough, we're always constantly living in history. And I didn't realize that this historical event was basically something that came about during my heyday. And of course, in hindsight, you go, "Oh, I know what history is," but when you're living through it, you don't realize it. And this is definitely, positively, probably a fey, chaos inspired type of thing, and what we can steal from it and use for our tabletop role playing games. It says. Uh, Zamara says, "My people called me and I am here." Okay. What may I teach you of the American shopping holiday that is Black Friday? To start, it is not a holiday, for it is not holy. It is an unholy day of capitalism. Oh, you are so right. You are so right. So let's give ourselves a little bit of a historical uh, processes to this. Now, I was born in 1970, so when this truly began, this Black Friday event, and it has a number. It's one of these things where, like, and it. Let me go back a little bit. um, Sometimes socially we can start to butt heads a little bit about what a holiday represents, a festival, a holiday, an occasion, because it starts to permutate. And this event of Black Friday is literally one of these things that came about through a number of small things coalescing into a bigger thing that even to this modern day has kind of subsided and turned into a gray ooze. So it's kind of like a giant monster that grew from the subconscious of human beings, and then it kind of has subsided a bit. So so and I'm here on Wikipedia, and just to give some little context, because I grew up in this era. So Black Friday is the Friday after Thanksgiving in the United States. Um, the holiday of Thanksgiving happens on a Thursday. It always happens on a Thursday. Um, and it traditionally marks the start of the Christmas shopping season in the United States. But that's not exactly how its origins. So many stores offer highly promoted sales at discounted prices and often open early, sometimes as early as midnight. It's even more different than that. Or even on Thanksgiving. Some store sales continue to Monday, such as Cyber Monday, called Cyber Monday, or for a week, Cyber Week. Black Friday is the busiest shopping day of the year in the United States, and U.S. retailers prioritize Black Friday and Cyber Monday as highly profitable holiday shopping days. And and in general, it starts off like right after Thanksgiving in the United States. It starts off our shopping experience, a promotion up until Christmas Day. So it naturally falls into this. Hey, now that Thanksgiving is over, and Thanksgiving kind of represents more of a home and hearth ideal. That now that that's done, now we can go out and start to be consumers and spend lots of money and buy lots of gifts in a modern context for family and friends and coworkers and things like that, all the way up until Christmas Day. And there's usually a countdown, even on lots of media and in the news and such. How many days until Christmas? And it counts down because that's how many shopping days you have left. And they will often, of course, parallel the news and commercials and things will parallel themselves for different events. So they'll say, hey, this weekend they're doing some kind of event, and maybe they might have some entertainment or whatever. And of course, if they have any kind of um, uh, community event, they will absolutely positively be paired with some kind of consumer event. You'll pick up coupons or freebies or exclusive events, or access to something or what have you. And it's pretty bad. So says for centuries the adjective black has been applied to days upon which calamities occurred. Um, Many events have been described as Black Friday throughout history, and including a run on gold at one point back in 1869. The earliest known use of Black Friday to refer to the day after Thanksgiving specifically occurred in the Journal of Factory Management and Maintenance, because in November 1951 and again in 1952, it referred to the practice of workers calling in sick on the day after Thanksgiving. So, in order to have a 4-day weekend, so they'd have off Thursday for the holiday and then call in, so they'd have Friday, Saturday, and Sunday off as well. However, it doesn't appear to have caught on, of course. And around the same time, the terms Black Friday and Black Saturday came to be used by the police in Philadelphia and Rochester, New York, to describe the crowds and traffic congestion accompanying the start of the Christmas shopping season. That is my hometown, and I remember it being used for that purpose. But not at that specific time, because in 1961, the city and merchants of Philadelphia attempted to improve the conditions, and a public relations expert recommended rebranding the days Big Friday and Big Saturday, but it didn't catch on. Then the use of the phrase spread, appearing in the New York Times in November 29, 1975, and I would have been like 5 years old at the time, in which it still refers specifically to the busiest shopping and traffic day of the year in Philadelphia, although it soon became more widespread. The Philadelphia Inquirer, a local paper that I still remember, reported in 1985 that retailers in Cincinnati and Los Angeles were still unaware of the term. So definitely a hometown creation, and I remember it being considered a very derisive type of term at that time, although people couldn't get away from it. But to this day, it's more commonly referred to as uh, it's the derivation of it is about the opposition to being in the red. So retailers traditionally operated at a financial loss for most of the year, January through November, and made their profit during the holiday season, beginning on the day after Thanksgiving. When this was recorded in the financial records, once common accounting practices would use red ink to show negative amounts and black ink to show positive amounts. Black Friday, under this theory, is the beginning of the period when retailers would no longer be in the red, instead of taking in the year's profits. The earliest known published reference to this explanation occurs in the Philadelphia Inquirer in November 28, 1981. So, the term of Black Friday is more commonly referred to as being in the black. That retailers are cutting so many costs that they're selling out of everything, and people want to purchase them for the low prices, and that it's more of a accounting term. Um, when I so I hate Black Friday. Yeah. Zamar says I used to love it because it was the one time my family moved as one massive hive mind. We were a colony spread across stores, nay, the whole town. Yeah. There's some pretty horrible things too. Even in the thumbnail, I put in some like actual pictures of like riots and stuff that happened Black Friday. It's crazy. Now, are we just a fractured giblet of despair screams into a hopeless void, wishing to climb over one another for the power that comes with the role of our matriarch, but without the duties? Maybe. Hey, we have a it's now called the Tanger Outlets. It used to just be called Jeffersonville. Anyway, I'm sorry, I am north of Jeffersonville. It was south. It's now called Tanger Outlets. Actually, I think it maybe even changed names. Anyways, an outlet, giant outlet mall. And they even had to have state troopers come in because Many times the ladies of the family, this just became a tradition, would dress in sleep clothes. So they dress in onesies and nightgowns and flannel pajamas and things like that. Yeah, exactly, Ethan. And um, the parking was so difficult to get into this place that people would pull off on the side of the highway, cross the fence to wait in lines for the opening on midnight or maybe even before midnight. And it got so bad that people were trying to run across major highways to get to the stores. And the state troopers had to come in to redirect traffic and make sure people weren't killed who were literally trying to cross traffic that was moving at highway speeds, which, oh my goodness. Such a, like, it just feels like a mass hysteria kind of thing. Zamar says, I'm sure the accounting term is just a marketing spin because any sane mind will realize that operating at a loss for 9 months will bankrupt you before you reach the other three. Yes, yes, that doesn't, you're so right. It makes zero sense. Like, wait a minute, you can't really have a business that only makes a profit for 3 months and then the rest of it. I mean, the only businesses I can think of that could even operate that way would be like, I don't know, ice cream shops that are in the middle of winter, and even that doesn't. People still buy ice cream in the middle of the wintertime, but I mean, even so, those type of places, seasonal places, usually open during their season and then completely shut down. There's no way a real retailer that operates the entire year just keeps operating at a loss. But yes, you are absolutely correct. It was a spin. It's a spin, and um, it's one that retailers actually tried to change the terminology, to change it from a Black Friday, but it just stuck. So then they just said, well, look, if we can't change it, we're just going to join it. Yep, costume shops. We do have a lot of those, like the pop up costume Halloween shops that come into the mall. Usually empty retail spaces. They're there for like 2 months, a month and a half, 2 months or something like that. They'll open up, and prior to Halloween or something. Yeah. We still have that happens at Christmas time as well. Well, they'll come into Christmas season into an empty place and they'll sell trees, or they'll sell Christmas ornaments or something like that. Some places even open here and sell like, what they call like overstocks, which might be like coats and pants and shirts and things like that. And it'll just be like an empty store, but it's only open for November, December, and then they shut down. And there's like no, and big signs, no returns and whatnot. Also, but here's the thing, because this is tabletop role playing. Look, it's how fun would it be, and and in some ways, how strange would it be to have like a an event that happens in your world, fantasy or not. Usually we talk fantasy here, right? Where maybe like the, the common people who normally don't have access or think they don't have access to something become um, enticed to try to gain and to acquire a thing that happens at a particular time. So an example would be maybe there's access to a magical material or concoction, or to beseech a mystical, spiritual, or physical being or beings that can grant them wish like values or something. And I don't mean specifically wish, because we talked about the day of wishes. What I mean is like, maybe they're able to, excuse me, speak to an oracle, or gain the favor of a sphinx, or they get the mystical, I don't know, service of genie or efreets, or maybe there are monstrous monsters out there like ogres or something at a particular time. And now, mind you, all of this doesn't even need to be true. It just needs to be something that the population believes to be true. And then the hysteria starts. And every year, everyone knows that if they go to the talking stones, or if everyone gathers in the city center, or if they make a pilgrimage to this one location on this particular day when it's a equinox, it's a solstice, it could be something completely made up that the population, or at least very few members of the population, gain something that everyone else thinks they gain. Maybe there's a thinning of the membrane between worlds, and individuals are possessed with a great power or energy, or desire for something. So Martin says, "Oh, would use Black Friday as the memory of the economic collapse in a region, like a major city and its surrounding towns and hamlets. There will be plays remembered in the chaos." Yes, remember the collapse of, because even as a modern context, Black Friday is no longer a day. It is now just a term that is used that spread a month before Thanksgiving and then the days after. So, for example, you can even see in some literature and advertisements, they'll say, "Oh, Black Friday sale starting on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving," right? Like th- the day of Friday and the black part that's attached to it is now just, it's just a generalized term for sales. But during its peak in like the late 80s and through the 90s and 2000s, it was very much like riot central. People lining up, busting through doors, um the retail staff literally having to gain morale and almost arm themselves psychologically against the onrush of people. Yeah, yeah. Black Friday lunacy starts several days before. People prep themselves for it. In terms of like what stores they're going to go to, how many family members are there, and most often than not, we know, even though in the back of our minds, we know that a lot of these so-called sales are fiction at best and manipulations at most commonly. Uh, the heyday of the plasma flat screen TV era, where they were normally $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, and they would have a come first serve, get it for $600 or $500, and they would only need to give away one or two for that price, and then everybody else would start trying to buy them up, standing in line, and it was a FOMO writ large, right? Complete manipulation FOMO, fear of missing out FOMO, where they would artificially, and this is completely illegal, mind you, but all the retailers do it. So they would have a clothing item, let's say for 25 American dollars, and it's normally 25 American dollars, and it normally doesn't fluctuate off of 25 American dollars. But leading up to that time, they would advertise this item for $50, $75, $115, marked down to 25 American dollars. And then everyone would go, "Ooh, I've got to pick up 5 of these. There's normally marked to $75." And it's never been marked up to $75. It's always, and it is it is legally a completely illegal practice, and it is written in the laws that you're not allowed to do that. That if you are supposed to have a sale, that you are supposed to have a regular price, and then it's marked down price. But yeah, but retailers do it all the time. They hide it in there. They basically call it a loss leader, where they'll sell something that they know might lose them money, knowing that other things will sell along the way. And that's how big giant retailers like Amazon, which is far more global, Walmart, which is huge here in the U.S., and other places, make a lot of money. Yeah, yeah. What I heathen just points out everything I pointed out before I even got there. Yeah, people get trampled. There, people have. I don't know how many deaths have happened, but there's been plenty of injuries, fights, injuries, gunfire, that kind of thing. Yeah, retail staff has to gain morale, or they'll just up and quit. Working retail during Black Friday is just awful. They get, it cussed out and beaten up and screamed at. Yeah. Samara says, yeah, 10% off, 25% off on small price, sub $50 items this year. It was painful to see. Yeah, you're right. When you see that, you're like, "No, but it's not that's not even the real price." Like they'll have prices saying it's the original price. I'm going like, "Nobody pays that price. No one pays $115 for that clothing item. Literally no one." Yeah. There's also Black Tuesday that marked the start of the stock market crash in the 1930s in the US. You're so right there, Dead Man. Yep. Yeah, it's well, and the term black something has, just like Wikipedia says, and it has been a historical thing that it's usually attached to some kind of calamity. The black blizzards that happened in the, I want to say, the 19 teens that happened across the United States, the middle America. Um, when I even says it's super common, I didn't know it was illegal. Yeah, well, I found out it was legal because I was listening to a podcaster talk about it, and then I was like, "Wait a minute!" And I looked it up, and I was like, "Oh shit, yeah!" Because the podcaster put up the legal doctrine that said that retailers are not allowed to do that. That they can't have a normal price of say 25 American dollars and just manipulate words around it. But yeah, it happens. It happens so often that it would be nearly impossible to police it. So I think it's just not policed at all. Yeah, One Eye Heathen says it's a common enough that it's a given, something you need to look out for as a consumer. Exactly. Like I often make the argument with my wife gets it now, and I make the argument with my coworkers and things where I say, you know, when people say something is too expensive or too cheap, I say everything sells for the price that it's worth. And meaning that, like, especially with when something doesn't have a known price to it, housing is a big thing, right? Where housing doesn't have a price, its value is only what people will pay for it. And so, when someone says, "Man, no one would ever buy that," you have to go, "Well, sure, but at what point does the fear of missing out, the FOMO, take place, and then people start scrambling for the thing because they think that either they'll not have access to it, or there's a social they get some social clout from owning the thing, paying for it before other people could afford it. The person that po- pays $115 for that $25 clothing item pays for it. Is it because they can afford it and it just doesn't matter to them, or are they paying for it to get the social clout? Hey, I own this thing because I know so many other people will never be able to own it, right? Or before that. When Heathen said, I thought that was Black Monday. Learn something every day. Isn't there? Oh, there's a song. Oh, anyway, I'm sure there's a way to look up all the the black something events that happened throughout history, like like you said, the Black Plague, black metal. Yeah, Dead Man says Walmart does this all the time. Oh, Walmart. That that's a that's Walmart's modus operandi, right? But Dead Man says, yeah, Walmart does this all the time. Marking an item sale with its normal price and an increased price listed on the regular price on the same ticket with the sale square over the normal pricing square. Yeah, yeah. They'll put what would you call that? Like fake ticketing? Like they'll put a ticket over it as if it was higher, but it isn't, and then they put the lower price underneath it, even though the price has never changed. Yep. Yeah. Kohl's is a real retailer that does that here all the time. When you buy items at Kohl's, you're they'll print out the receipt and it'll go, you saved $178 because of all these items you purchased because they were normally marked up. And you're going, they were never marked up. It was you never sold it at that. Yeah. Zamara says with housing, my FOMO kicked in about 3 years ago. Yeah. Yeah. Now I can't even afford to get my own apartment. Actually, getting a house will save you more money than getting an apartment. Oh, the region I'm in, Central Ohio, apartment housing has exploded. So we have more construction of more apartments. Basically, I classify it as subscription service housing that there's more apartments than houses being built, and the housing values are so high that it's forcing people that live in apartments to not be able to purchase homes. Right, that one's more expensive than the other, and trying to find a house is just crazy because it's. But again, the FOMO, the fear of missing out, and I think in because it's going to get pretty depressing if we stick with real life. But in fantasy, we often we often discount uh the common folk, the regular people, the zero level humans, right? We often discount them. And there's a number of videos, people on YouTube and stuff that have actually calculated that zero level humans in classic D20 fantasy Dungeons and Dragons could actually take out a dragon uh, based on percentages and damage amounts and things like that. Um, that if they're organized enough, and we often discount normal human beings, except of course if we're saving their lives or taking advantage of them, or they're screaming for help because they need adventurers. And more often than not, we heroes come along, player characters come along, and they go, "We're going to save the day," and they do a thing, and the population's like, "Oh, thank you," but really it's the common people that if they get motivated to do a thing, how much that can transform the physical and social world and economic world. And I think a great enemy that's able to manipulate people that way, maybe maybe there's fey creatures that like to that play this game that get together. They're like dark fey, between fey creatures and hags and naga and many of our manipulative more monsters or something get together. Or maybe it's a weird strange holiday unto them, the evil creatures unto themselves, that says that this is the time, much like mob mentality, which is a growing theme here in the States, where we have flash mob crimes. Basically, social media will get together flash mob criminals, and they'll decimate a financial sector of a city and get away with it because of the sheer numbers and uh, speed, surprise, and numbers. So dozens upon dozens of people will descend upon a place to steal things. And when the police arrive, they're completely outnumbered and taken off guard, both the retailers and security and things like that, so that there's a greater chance of those people stealing things and getting away with it. And this could actually be a motivation by the very manipulative bad guys we have in our fantasy by going, listen, we're not going to disrupt a thing or cause a thing. This could be a distraction. Maybe some of these monstrous entities are gifting the regular people into becoming or transforming into something greater than themselves, being the the um, the ultimate flash mob warlock patron kind of thing. Hey, if you show up here in this day and do this thing or beseech us or whatever, you can become a great powerful entity unto yourself. All your wishes can come true. And for normal human beings in fantasy, that could be just as something as simple as becoming as the strength or power of an ogre to be tougher than your, being beaten up or something, or being given a concoction or magic item or magical spell or transported or gifted with coin or whatever. And if it could just happen just this one day and other people think it can happen for them, that that hysteria could just build and build until the PCs, because we often, side note, we often don't have fantasy and large populations commingle. Um, Very rarely do we have a city square filled with a massive population of people coming from out of town. I mean, we do have bazaars where there's a crowds of people buying things, and sometimes there's crowds of people to listen to the nobility or dictatorship, but normally it's not a dungeoneering kind of thing. But this could also empty out a place for players to adventure in when normally a place is completely packed with people. And it could be a massive distraction. Fey creatures, mystical entities, deceivers trying to convince people to go to the north and completely empty out the southern section of the city, in which maybe very great things happen there. There could be thieving, Very mundane things: thieving, sabotage, destruction, that kind of thing. Or it could be something more mystical, maybe laying the groundwork for a vast, giant-sized pentagram or something that covers the entire city. And the only way to get it painted into the ground and then cover it up is everybody's got to leave because the cult's trying to paint it on the ground or something. But and there might be real, like, it doesn't necessarily need to be fake that the population is going after it. It could just be a limited number of people can acquire this thing, which could be a reason why there's evil entities and monsters and otherworldly things in your world. It could be because some of these people were regular people. You know, that pit fiend that you met the other day might have been somebody that lived in this town a few months ago, right? Um, uh, that kind of thing. Yeah. Samara says, I mean, that's true even for real life. What happens to Walmart if only, say, 30%, no, 20% of their client base doesn't buy from them for a day? It won't just be their stocks that fall. It'll be, it'll, don't even threaten that, because you are so right. That's that's when businesses become so large that it's the so large they can't fail that the government has to step in. That's exactly what happened to the banks, right? The banks F up. They're just like, "Oh, this is free money. This is monopoly money. We're just going to blah blah blah." And then it's like when a sizable part of the population can't involve themselves into a thing because it's the opposite of overspending. It's the underspending. That's how the housing market crashed. People stopped buying houses, and they didn't just stop buying houses. They gave up houses that they were owning. People were trying to buy properties to flip and invest in, and they went, "Listen, you're going to foreclose on me anyway. Whatever. It's going to ruin my credit. So what? Here's the keys back." And it was like, "Wait, what? You can't just." That's the thing that's fearful for economists, when people stop spending money. And so that's even the opposite. I mean, we could even play with that with Black Friday in a fantasy world, is when the entire population stops moving for whatever reason. Harvests stop being cut. People stop spending money. People stop traveling. They close their doors. And yeah, Walmart, if 20-30% of their churn, their financial churn just stopped for a day, it would. I mean, you talk about affecting logistics with trucking and shipping and how many goods they order and things like that. Like there was a Walmart um, documentary I saw that they have a program that tells them, based on weather patterns, what type of food items to send to which stores. And there was a person being interviewed that worked in this logistics center. And on the logistics form, it said that they need to order extra cases of strawberry Pop Tarts. And the interviewer said, "Why are you sending extra strawberry Pop Tarts to these cities?" And they said, "Well, there's a storm front coming in." And the interviewer was like, "Yeah, but why?" And they said, "Well, statistically, we sell more strawberry Pop Tarts just before a storm hits." And the interviewer was, "Yeah, but why do they sell that way?" And the Walmart person was like, "We don't know. We just know that that event happens, therefore we send more Pop Tarts." Not now, it could be that because they send more Pop Tarts, that's the only thing that's available, so it gets purchased. But that's a different thing, right? So it, you know, there could be an evil entity, a powerful entity that wants to manipulate the world, and they say, "Hey, this event causes people to react in this way. Therefore, when we do this, people move or act or disrupt this thing, then we can destabilize the government to make them do right." Thor likes strawberry Pop Tarts. Yeah, yeah. I'm more a cherry person, and I can't really you don't really find cherry too often. Just cherry. Strawberry's plentiful. Finding the cherry ones, cherry, and I love the cinnamon ones as well. But oh well. Anyway, he then says, "Oh yes, humans turning into monsters. It's perfect. They would be promised riches, servants, power, yeah, fun, all the things advertisers promise us, but it turns dark. Or you only need to prove that it's real for a very tiny fraction of the people to make everybody else believe it's a thing. It's how lotteries work, right? We know that people win lotteries. It's not That's not untrue. It's a true thing. People win lotteries, but the number of people who win lotteries is never measured against all the people that lose lotteries. And so, you know, do I like to put in a couple of $10 or $20 or something into a lottery pool because on the off chance you might win, tens or hundreds of millions of dollars? Yes, sure, right? Is the rate rate return on investment, cost effect analysis, does it make sense? Not really, but sure, why not? Right? It's a dream. Now, should you start investing in thousands of dollars on lottery tickets? Maybe not. I don't think they make coffee flavored Pop Tarts. I think you're better off drinking it. Yeah, but it would be pretty interesting, like adult Pop Tarts, right? I think they would sell if they ever did it, because there's something uh, immature I love about a Pop Tart. you know, when I hear this is when people with broad control over markets that we don't have, so often we get screwed in spite of hard work and self discipline. Yep, the values we were told would make our lives prosperous. That's why I think today, despite my frustration, I understand why uh, people younger than myself. I'm in my mid 50s now. I'm 53. So the oh, you young folk, kind of stuff back in my day, arguments is that young people today see the ramifications of believing in a system that hard work brings prosperity, and that's not true. Um, across middle America, there were many of these not solo siloed communities where there was literally one industry in the community that helped everybody, and when that industry shut down, it made ghost towns of, dare I say, thousands, maybe tens of thousands of communities across the middle America that just shriveled up and died because um, line must go up, and that's the downfall of oh, DJ, check the Discord. Okay, that's the downfall of the golden age of capitalism is the destruction of check the boiler room. Okay, uh, is the destruction of we're going to shut a whole factory down, which will disrupt the entire community, not because it's not effective, but it's not making our lines go up. We're not earning more money. If you're, what is it? If you're not growing, if you're not earning, if you're not rising up, you're dead. And that happens to be a commonality amongst large corporate America. That if you are not earning more today than yesterday, then you're failing. Rather than say a mom and pop store that just earns them enough money to make them comfortable in their lifestyle and help the community. No, their profits aren't creeping up and up and up, but they've stabilized, right? And stabilization is death in corporate America. When I hear this, says yes, statistically speaking, somebody almost always wins. Also, statistically speaking, you have a better chance of being struck by lightning. Exactly. I mean, let's take the literal idea of being struck by lightning and imagine a magical place in the world that if you arrive there and stand there on this clear day on the top of this hill, a bolt of lightning will strike down and transform you a la Shazam style, right? Boom, you become a godlike figure. Now, how long will it be on this particular day, on this particular time of year, that a dozen people show up, 1,000 people show up, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands? People come far and wide to stand there under the sky to be struck randomly by a bolt of lightning that will transform into a deity like kind of being. Well, that's going to bring people far and wide. It doesn't mean it's not true. It just means that, like, hell, it's just not going to happen to you. So let me get into this Discord. Let's see if I can get a. Let's see if it'll let me go in. Come on. Mm-mm, mm-mm, mm. Yeah, I'm so far behind. Update your. Oh, I can't. Oh shit! They're not going to let me. Fuck. Are they even going to let me do it? Oh, they want me to update my username. I haven't been here so long. Here we go. Boiler room. Introducing the new Pop Tarts dunked in indulgent coffee flavors. I did not know that. I did not know that. Exciting news today as we are thrilled to announce that the smooth, rich taste of Dunkin' Donuts coffee is now in Pop Tarts form. In a first of its kind partnership for Dunkin' Donuts, we've teamed with Pop Tarts to debut the first ever coffee flavored Pop Tarts. It just sounds like that. Yes. Thanks, Z. When I hear this is, and what assholes going out to use their godlike powers to make sure no one else can become gods anymore? Yes, yes. I mean, listen, you're that random person that gets struck by lightning and become a Shazam, Captain Marvel, Shazam like godlike being. There's probably a good chance someone is going to be like, we don't need more. There's already 7 of us. We don't need more. No, you're fine there, Shice. Yeah. Yeah, I want to buy that shit and put butter on it. Hell yeah. All right. Um, what else about Black Friday? Oh, um, it's possible that what's available on this event, this Black Friday style event, and this could literally happen at the end of a festival, hearth and home type of festival, like American Thanksgiving here in the States. It could be the preparation for it could be hearth and home, right? Imagine family and friends gathering together to understand that the next day they're going to go out to, members of the family, the young, the sick, the elderly, the warriors, whoever are going to go out to try to acquire this connection to power. So the day before may be a day where it is hearth and home. It is eating and drinking and reminiscing and gathering together family and friends. It's the dream type thing, right? Where at work and amongst family, we sometimes talk about, hey, if you won the lottery, what would you buy? Where would you go? What would you do? Um, and before the Black Friday event happens, people are gathering together. Now, to add even more disruption to it, just like fantasy medieval world, you can't have people walking away from their jobs, from their harvests, leaving neighborhoods and things like. You can't have people doing that. You know, the city guards on the watchtowers guarding the city state. You can't have them leaving their posts. You can't have a standing army just up and leave to go to the grand hill, knowing that a light will shine down upon them and only literal few of them, 5 individuals will be taken up into the clouds, aglow with the light of a divinity. Or so. You can't have that. So what happens? What does a community do? Do they become more draconian in stopping people from traveling to this place? What is it about that would draw, whether they're fey creatures or devious creatures, chaos incarnate, an evil plan by a lich or something? What would cause people to? How you could you convince people not to do a thing, knowing that on the off chance they might have the power to do this? I mean, hell, you could even, this could even be a vampire lord that's going to embrace someone, and people would still be like, yeah, I know I'm going to be an immortal bloodsucker, but damn, I'm going simply because I don't want other people to get it, which could be a thing, right? Hey, I'm only involved in this because everybody else um, is involved in it. There is, there is there can be a social imperative to involve yourself in something, even if you don't like the thing, simply because it's not just a fear of being left out, but if you are left out, you might become victim to the thing that somebody else may possess. So, for example, maybe there's people in your community you don't agree with. We see that happen in real life where people you don't agree with politically. There's some kind of social, like a cultural thing. People from different communities and different countries who live in close proximity sometimes have a lot of friction, and they don't want their opponent, perceived opponent, to receive some kind of benefit that you're not going to get. And so, yeah, you could very much play this into a game where, I don't know, a Rakshasa is and the Rakshas's agents every year come here and dump sacks of gold coins onto a community, and that will completely transform that small community's buying power and their riches, and by virtue of becoming instantly rich, a la the oil found in the Middle East, that those individuals go from being considered second class, third world citizens in your fantasy world to becoming, finding this value or resource or something, to becoming very powerful on the world stage. And there would be lots of opponents who, for no other reason, just want to prevent yet one more. If we already have enough opponents, we don't need another one. Right? And this Black Friday could be, for example, it could be a Druidic cult that is going around exposing a natural resource that is unavailable to people. And the Druidic cult's like, we don't really care what you do with it, but it needs to be acquired. Maybe there's a mystical grove. The Druidic cult is the one that wanders the accursed desert, that somehow gathers together on a particular day or something to create an oasis. And the first people to come in and plant their flag in the oasis is going to be the ones that dominate it. And great wars could happen on the days, weeks, months leading up to this event as well. On this Black Friday event. Yeah. Yeah, Zamar says, "Look, you get that power, you will quickly realize you don't need one, much less more than one." Right? That's true. That's true. Hey, you get the power, you're like, screw everybody else, right? Yep. Black Friday is the Friday when those who wish to become more than human, like level one adventurers, they go into a forest and step into the ever burning waters, and will be forever changed. Those who manage to walk out of it through whatever means gains a class. Those who don't, well, are gone forever. It could be an explanation of how players got their class and what makes them different than others. I call it the day of lotteries. That's awesome, though, right? Who's how do we know where character class comes from? Um, Heck, from the outside, it might seem like it only happens. They bathe themselves in the fiery waters, but internally, they could be gone for months. Yeah, it might be a rumor, just a rumor that grew and grew and grew. Yep. Yeah. Who knows? I mean, now I think you would have to have. It would have to be based in some reality. Now, I mean, for example, it could be mistaken that, like, the Salem witch trials are a good example. What is, I'm on the history channel website. They talk about seven mysterious, like, mass illnesses that defied explanation. They talk about the dancing plague of 1518 and the Salem witch trials, that, as famously as the Salem witch trials happened, they only happened for like a year or two, from 1692 to 93. It was January of 1692, and all we would need, um, like, I can imagine many peoples throughout history have thought of people who, say, had seizures, physical, neurological seizures, and was considered some form of um, extra worldly event, whether they were possessed or they were um, being possessed by evil, or being talked to by divine power, or oracles being given images of the future, what have you. So people, human beings, humanity could think that there's truth to a thing, even though that truth isn't necessarily real, right? Um, when a person who reaches immortality may think they're immortal, and everyone else thinks that they just grow immortal, but we know that they're vampires, right? There's a drawback to their power. There may be individuals who gained a lot of power, but it's very temporary. Um, it's the Twilight Zone black boxing. Hey, if you press this button, you'll instantly get $1 million, but someone you don't know will die. And then, of course, at the end of that episode, they press the button, they get the $1 million, and then a person comes by to get the black box, and they say, "Hey, who are you taking the box to?" And he ends it with someone you don't know, right? And there could be a great power that comes along, a very chaotic type of power, which is why I said fey creatures would really fit into this, where they might think it's a game where they really do make someone in this group that where everybody's massing together and give them great power, knowing that the very next year, the next person to get that power kills the person that had it before. They'll die because a new person will gain that power, not knowing that that's what happens. And the person previous to that who had the power may be trying to stop this event, maybe trying to gain the the um, the attention of the adventurers to say, "Hey, you need to stop this because I'm going to die." And the adventurers may look at that person like, "Well, wait a minute, you enjoyed all your power. You were an a-hole for like 364 days. Now you're worried." You know what I mean? Hey, Full Metal State, what's going on? It's been a while since I've seen your avatar. It's been a while. Sorry. Zamar says, actually, it could be that those that don't make it through are transformed into monsters, unbeknownst to anyone, and transported around the world. Yeah, yeah. They're like, oh, they've all been risen up. No, they didn't. One of them did. The rest of them just became monsters, much like the greed and power or whatever that they were trying to possess in the first place. Um, yeah, hey, even fake creatures could say, guess what? Um, you become only a select few of will gain this thing, but you will become like the person you have be. You will physically transform and gain the powers of the thing that you have become psychologically on your path to get here, right? So the person who really doesn't want to flaunt it, doesn't want ultimate power, doesn't want to flaunt it, sometimes doesn't even participate in it. Whereas all the people who do are backstabbers and liars and cheats and that kind of thing. Yeah, yeah, it could be very much like, well, where did the monsters come from? And then the whole population is going, we're besieged by monsters. Can't wait till the next Black Friday event next year. So that's a great warrior will step up and stop these monsters. Even though the rest of the family are just like backstabbers and liars and stuff like that to try to get one of their family members to become chosen or picked or from this random event or something. I'm still thinking of the lightning coming from the sky, but it doesn't need to be. You can make it anything you want. I mean, it could be a sphinx that guards doors to a tomb or something, or a chamber, and only select few will allow the sphinx will allow so many to pass through, and then they will become different. Z says, "Thank you for the idea. Become? What don't the adventurers become the monsters? Grow in strength, intelligence, and the next generation become the adventurers that slay them." Yeah. Yeah. Live long enough and you become what is it? Live long enough and you become uh the evil you've been fighting or something like that. I can't remember the exact phraseology, but yeah, it's something like that. Yeah. PCs, they just become uh both can be true. Yep. Adventurers will gain the power of monsters, doomed to fail to control that power, and those that go in and become monsters have already failed. Yep, and it just becomes this incredible cycle. Oof. When I heathen says, well, maybe all the greedy people turn into monsters, but the few who are deified are the ones with good intentions. And again, that might be it might be a power that transformation may not be controlled, right? Like no one, there's no intelligent being saying you're good and you're bad. It may just be, what are the intentions of the people trying to do the thing? And the ones that are like, now, here's an oddity. What if a person is transformed who has good intentions, but their family has been engaging in bad intentions to get them to get them to that point? You know, the family members that were like backstabbing, poisoning, lying, maybe even assassinating, or confounding their intentions to, their ability to get to this one location, but hiding it from their own family members that they know will be deified or something like that. That would be strange bedfellows, I guess. When I Heathen says, I love the idea about the monsters and people who don't know that they are populating the world with monsters for the hero to defeat in the first place. Yeah, yeah. Man, we keep getting besieged by monsters. I don't understand it. And all the monsters are like, I just want to come back home, but I can't speak because I'm a Bahir. I don't know. Uh where's a Bahir? You got it. Unsung unsung monsters of Dungeons and Dragons. I like Bahirs anyway. But yeah, I mean, it might be something as strange as like the monsters that are besieging the PC's hometowns may be like literally biologically related to those that are trying to get back there, but they just don't know how to. They're consumed with maybe like a rage or a destructive intent or something like that, and everyone's just like, why do they keep attacking us? you know and they're like, we're trying to relive our old days. But anyway, we've come to the end. I've taken far too much of your time. Thank you very much, guys, for being here. I thought it would just be fun. Yeah, Abolus, been there since the beginning, holding up the pillars that the beholder stands on. Yeah, see, you're another one that likes a monster that's kind of like an unsung hero monster. You're just like, yeah, I like it. These are like monsters that are like the other white meat. It's like everybody goes towards, like, I don't know, liches, vampire lords, dragons, but you're like, what about these other monsters, man? They just been yeah, that would be kind of cool. It would. Maybe we'll do that. Maybe we'll do like some unsung monster on the day. So unsung monsters on the day of, like, rethinking some of them because maybe they're a little bit boring, or we haven't seen them enough or something like that. But yeah, I thought it'd have some fun. Black Friday just passed, and not just passed, but here in the States, it's the Black Friday happening after Thanksgiving, and the hysteria that happens. Hell, even in my thumbnail, I put down like real life riots next to the Black Friday riots, and they're just basically the same. Yeah, Day of the Unsung Monsters. There's a television show here called Unsung about mostly um, R&B and hip hop artists, mostly R&B, and the show's just called Unsung. Yep. Yes. Jess says, these I've been taking up too much of your time. Outros don't need to be there. Why not go another hour? Yeah. 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 Rhetorical question. I know the answer. Work. Yep. Yeah, that's it. That's every. Oh. Before we get out of here, I got to show you something. Shit. I got to. Okay. Let's see. I made a character sheet for Obsidian Star, and I'm going to share it to you. I actually may even share the link to it, but and you'll notice that I even changed the um stats because shit. How do I explain it? I I picked past stats, and then I changed the stats because I thought they were better. And then when I saw it in a printed form, I didn't like it, so then I changed it up. Here we go. Okay, so let me share this out to you guys. I use Canva, by the way. How do I close this out here? And then let's see if I can bring this up here. So this in so what I'm showing you. Sorry, big giant segue. Let me move this here. This is a character sheet I was working on. It's very very nice. Very very telling that it is preliminary. So let me just make this as big as I can, and then we'll show it up here. So this is the TTRPG I'm working on. It's going to be free. Don't worry about it. I'm not a logistics person, so F all that. So of course, put the logo up here, Obsidian Star, and then you got some stuff over here in the edges, and Strive is like the willpower, hit point, stress mechanic. Of course, we have our attributes, and I put in vector, arc, and axis, and I didn't like it. And I originally made these. I was going to pick the three as force, flex, and fulcrum, and now I'm back to force, flex, fulcrum. I can't. I keep going back and forth, and every time I go back and forth, I'm like, no, 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 this is it. I'm going to stick with this, and I'm like, no, I don't like it, and then I like it again. So, and then here's a little bit of the rules down here at half size. So, spend 12 points. Spend 12 points and equal strive. I'm going to put an arrow. I haven't figured out how I want the arrow. Do I want a curved arrow? Well, anyway, I'm going to put a curved arrow here. So all your attributes here go to the strive, and then you have your 6 approaches. Down here is the rule. Pick 3, spend 12 points in those 3. And then we move down here to pockets. And so I'm going to have like a little arrow. So the rules are kind of be on the character sheet. So from strive to pockets, because as you move down here and your number of how many pockets do you have, and you put your crap in your pockets equal what your strive is. And so here's the half size rule. So your pockets equal all your gear and baggage that you carry with you. So gear are all your positive traits, your baggage are your negative traits. Baggage bumps gear. So down here, you have your 6 automatic things that go into your pockets. So you've got your motivation. Why do you do it? Your foundation is your physical body. Your vocation is your job, your skill set. Your description is like, are you fast, quick, strong, smart, perceptive? Your connections are your person, place, and things. And then your location is where you're from in the solar system. And so you automatically have 6 things in your pockets. Of course, there's 6, 6, and 6 is more 18 more. You have a space over here to write these down, and then you've got 6 more and 6 more 12. It makes 18, but you don't have that many slots. You actually only have as many pockets as your strive. So you got all your shit in your pockets, and then down at the bottom you have your bricks. There's a little container here. I might change that symbol, but I don't know, look, containers. I tried to find something that looked like a locked container, and I never couldn't find one that was good. And then you have just can checklist off your bricks, and then we have some stuff on the sides of the character sheet here, some stars, some there's a shooting star right here I added in, and stuff like that. So anyway, that's the Obsidian Star character sheet. Let me shrink her back down a little bit, and then that's it. So anyway, boom, boom, boom. Will it not let me do that again? That's weird. That is very weird. He says, yes, love Day of the Unsung Monsters. We need that. Okay, we'll do that. Good night, all cats. Remember, love with the heart, and for all else, rip and tear your heart that way. Minus 25% off sale in the Fantasy World. Working title for my isekai light novel. Oh, okay, working on something. Yes. High five for the F logistics and market forces. I'm gonna make my hard work for everyone mindset. I feel you all too hard, brother. Yeah. High five for the F. Yeah. Yeah, I can't. Okay. Some people that I very much respect in the tabletop role playing community, and some of these individuals were I would consider friends of mine. If we power friendships are kind of a thing, and many of them acid time for the acid-born shark. Never acid-born shark, but many of them have been destroyed by trying to produce tabletop role playing materials because social media, marketing, production, publishing, layout, Kickstarter, all editing, all the bullshit that goes into producing role playing games are literal full time jobs other people do that have nothing to do with tabletop role playing games, which is why sometimes our greatest writers, developers, intellectuals, fantasy creators. You're like, man, I thought they would make it this great thing, and I Kickstarter, and it's been 2 years and stuff. It's because it's a daunting job, and I have zero interest in wanting to do things other than have fun, be creative, or whatever. So I'm just working on this and doing it on my own. So he was underrated as the dumbest monster in AD&D. Acid born shark. Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. I'm acid. I'm gonna look this damn thing up. Oh, I don't see it. I see sharks and stuff. No, nothing came up immediately. Oh man. Oh well. It's all right. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for being part of the show, and and again, thank you for letting me indulging me with my sci-fi um endeavor, right? Thank you very much for that. So anyway, guys, thank you very much for being part of the show. Your time is very valuable. You know, I say this all the time. Thank you for spending it here. I hope you can make some change. And the reason why I say that is because you could be doing or having anything else, fulfill your life and stuff. And I just really appreciate being able to um, I feel like I get more out of it than I give away, and it makes me feel guilty sometimes. Because this is like my morning coffee. I got to head off to work. I'm actually surprised that I'm able to do this late in the season. We are surprisingly more fully staffed than we have been, but there may become a time where they start changing my time where I've got to be at work an hour and a half earlier and then work late. So yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Hope your next fraction of eternity gets off to a good start. Me too. Me too, because as it gets closer, our package delivery, we deliver plenty of like Christmas cards and things like that. This is our busiest season. And normally that means an hour or two on the front end, hour or two on the back end of our day, easily putting in 12-hour plus days. So it hasn't gotten there yet. And the last 3.5 years of this channel, I've had to shut down for like a month and a half simply because of that time. And especially during COVID, it was horrible. We were working 12, 14-hour days daily and working Sundays as well. They haven't uh, gotten us full timers, us old dudes to have to work Sundays, but fingers crossed it's not going to happen. So anyway, guys, thank you very much for being part of the show. I really appreciate it. Um, I hear you, member of the Shy Squad, about doing like small little videos, like breakdowns of the Obsidian Star, so that I can like, so they're like little bite-sized chunks about different things, like talking about how I was doing like the different planets, and then do little chunks of the rules and things like that. That kind of business. So we'll talk about that. So guys, have a great one. I'll see you later. Peace and tranquility.